Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Call of Cthulhu Masks of Nyarlathotep. My name is Alex Xander Rubitsky, and I will be your keeper of arcane lore. You may just call me the Keeper. Tonight, we are continuing our ongoing campaign of legendary stature in the world of the Cthulhu mythos. And I am joined, as always, by my lovely friends here at Internet Remix and their amazing characters. We are joined by Split Guardian.
What's up?
There is, of course, Atwis.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure, as always.
The one serious person in the intro. We have Upgraded Moon, also known as Jordan, who is slowly lifting a guitar in front of my eyes.
Hi.
Thank you. The wonderfully talented Tokyo, Brother Dingleberry.
You know, I was going to have an entire bit about how I'm technically Cat Sullivan today because I just don't have a voice, and then you come out here and you tell me about the Tokyo. Everyone now knows that there's Tokyo on my sweater, everyone. Oh my god, it's such a main event. You must notice.
And last but certainly not least, the one and only Kristen Trzynski.
I think I'm really serious in these intros. I don't know why. How is this the
Can't even finish a sentence. She can't even finish a sentence.
The joke that's being lost on the audience here is that, and if this is your first time joining us, why? You're 4 episodes ahead. Go back and watch numero uno. But we don't have our webcams on this show. God, stop. We don't have our webcams on this show. However, we do have cameras on for each other just so we can work off of each other.
He's like waiting. You're like the fucking teacher waiting for the kids.
The stream is. There he is. There he is. There he is.
Oh, he's back.
There he is.
I think he's alive. Oh, shit.
I think he's alive. You're fine. You're fine, honey.
Okay, so I don't know what's happening today. I don't know what's happening right now, but regardless, we're gonna continue forward because this is a train wreck. So there's chaos energy in the air today. Anyway, hello everybody, and we're gonna continue our campaign. I don't know what happened. Apparently they lost me, but the stream's back on. So
Yeah. No, you're back.
Cool. We'll cut all that out in post. Anyway,
God dang it.
He says.
Yep.
So anyway, we are going to jump in. We are going to jump in right where we left off last week. We're gonna check in with our friends Sunil, my apologies, and James, who split off from the group to go speak with the often talked about Mordecai Lemming, and that is where we left off. So whereas everyone else is up in Harlem meeting with Rebecca Schoenberg and Millie Adams, Sunil and James, the two of you head over to East 40th Street and Park Avenue, where there's kind of there's the Murray Hill Hotel, which is what you heard from Rebecca to be the address of this Dr. Mordecai Lemming. I'd say this is a little bit earlier than when the rest of the group meets Millie, so I'm gonna say that this is ballpark around like 3 p.m. possibly when you guys are first getting here. Yeah, you guys show up on site. There's this double stairway at the entrance of the Murray Hill Hotel that kind of like leads up to like an awninged entry to the lobby. You know how some buildings have those like really like long like awnings over their like entryway? Yeah, so it's kind of like that lead up. And there's a pair of like doormen that you can see are inside the lobby. You can see them through the door. And yeah, it's a pretty quiet neighborhood, quiet stretch of the city up here on 40th and Park Avenue. I'm actually, it's the vibe's a little different here, so I'm actually gonna change the music to reflect the vibe.
Oh, swanky.
We're gonna change the vibe up a little bit.
Hold on, I'm actually feeling this for a second. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any music, so I don't know the vibe.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. It's a nice vibe.
Oh, there it is.
Like a monologue to yourself while walking down the street with a cigarette hanging out of your mouth kind of vibe, you know?
I was walking down the street, me, Cat Sullivan, taking
This is the bit we're going with. Okay, got it. Just making sure that we're all
on
the same.
Oh my god, it's Cat Sullivan. Grade A detective, brother of Kit Sullivan.
James and Sunil, the two of you, I assume you're just going straight up into the lobby?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you walk up the double stairway, and it leads up into this marble-framed reception hall. Like, truly, this place could have been, like, built in the late 1800s, and the decor does not seem to have changed at all. It is kind of locked in that time period. But looking around immediately in your vicinity, there are the two doormen stationed by the lobby entrance, you know, dressed smartly with the hotel's liveries. There is a set of stairways that like lead up into the hotel proper, and a desk, a little reception desk, with a clerk sitting at it, an older gentleman, who clocks your appearance as you enter, but doesn't actively like rush to greet you, or like just acknowledges your presence and goes back to their workstation.
Right. Fucking. I'm assuming immediately James and Sunil like exchange that look of, okay, who's leading? Gestures.
Sunil walks up to this. Hello.
Ah, yes. Good afternoon. How may I be of assistance to you, sir?
We're looking for a. We were told that there would be a Lemming here. Yes, last name Lemming.
The clerk nods, acknowledging what you said, and like affirm that seemingly yes. Looks down at like a guest registry, and says, "Yes. Are you looking to speak with Mr. Lemming? I'm sorry, my apologies, Dr. Lemming."
Yes. We actually were interested in speaking to Dr. Lemming if he might be in.
The clerk nods and says, kind of like surveys you up and down, Sunil, glances over at James, kind of like clocks him as well.
Light wave.
Yeah. I say that he returns the polite wave. Yeah, and he says, "Sure, I'll ring up to his room and see if he's accepting visitors." The clerk, gets up from the table, walks over to like the wall phone, and goes through the process of ringing up. A moment later, comes back and says, "Yes, Dr. Lemming is. It will see you." And then like points up to the stairs and says, "It's up the stairs that way. You're gonna want to go up to," and gives you the directions to where Dr. Mordecai Lemming's rooms are.
Mm-hmm.
Sunil gives like a polite nod, and he thank you very much. Thank you very much, and then like he turns to go in that direction.
James follows along. Just thanks, buddy. And
Yeah.
as they're walking, James is kind of gonna open up some dialogue with Sunil. It's just like, all right, so you have a bit more of a grasp on what we're actually going to talk to this guy about than I do. Say you take the lead, and I'll be your intimidation factor if need be.
Yeah, that's just about how. Yeah, but I will also need one thing from you, James. This might seem a bit irritating at first, but occasionally if you clock something that you find interesting, please keep it in mind because I might not.
Right.
Just
speaking of which, you told
yes,
me.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it was Black Wind, Bloody Tongue, many faces, many names, all the same.
It's I've also written down many forms, and I feel as though we might also need to be asking about the Carlisle expedition. I feel as though there is a little of a connection there, but that will come, after.
Or during, one way or another.
Conversations tend to flow,
At least we got a game plan. We know what we're asking. We know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right.
So yeah, as the two of you, make your way up through the hotel, following the directions given to you by the clerk at the front lobby, you guys eventually find where Mordecai Lemming's room is, and standing outside the door to the apartment is this small, balding, kind of pale guy. Clothes are... Sunil, you clock this immediately. His clothes are very typical for like an absent-minded academic, covered in ink, and dust, grubby cuffs. Yes, yes. And various odd-looking stains. Is standing out by the door. And he just looks like delighted. Just like sees you two and just says, "Oh, hello there, hello, good afternoon, Dr. Mordecai Lemming, pleasure." Like immediately, like comes like shake your hands, kind of like with a hand on the hip. He's like, nice to meet you. Come on, you wanted to talk to little old me?
oh, absolutely, yes, actually.
Oh, well, of course, sure thing. You want to come inside? And just gestures at his apartment door.
Definitely, sure.
The keeper says, unable to shake this accent entirely when he reverts back to his normal speaking voice.
The apartment door?
The apartment door? Yes.
What?
Oh, well, please, come in. Opens the door to his apartment. This is a hotel, but it's the kind of similar to like the Chelsea, is that like where there are like permanent residents in the hotel as well. So it's like a mix of like hotel suites and apartments. But he pushes the door open, like gestures it in for all of you to go inside, which the interior of Dr. Mordecai Lemming's room is kind of a mess, very opulent but overcrowded. There's like Rococo detailings on the walls and ceilings that is actively fighting for your attention amongst a plethora of books and seemingly random objects from every continent, all anything with the share nothing of like particular interest or note. It all has like the theme, the shared theme of like myth and folklore, so it's all interesting and vying for attention, but nothing in particular stands out amongst everything else. But this room is a mess. Kind of like shows you into a the little living space where there's like a little sofa, coffee table, little reading chair. And can I actually, so I'm gonna need a group luck roll. The way that, I'll remind everyone, the way the group luck rolls work, can't speak, is that whoever has the worst luck score rolls the check for the two of you. So between
James, what's your luck?
67.
The roll.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Just good to know.
Bada bing!
Good to know.
We lucky. We lucky in here.
We lucky in here.
So
luckiest man in the world right here. Fucking doesn't matter what my score is.
Dr. Lemming says, well, have a seat. Can I get you anything? Do you want anything to drink? Anything? Got some tea I could put on as well? Anything you want?
I'll be fine, thanks.
Okay, sure. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I did not ask for your names. I don't get a lot of visitors very often, so I'm just happy to have the company.
Sunil Pandey. And he reaches out his hand again to shake once more.
Right,
they've already shaken, but like...
Yeah, he shakes again, like, enthusiastically. Well, I would introduce myself as Dr. Mordecai Lemming, but you seem to be already aware of me and want to come talk, so... you're good for tea, and you don't want any, so... Alright, kind of like...
James, like, takes out his flask. James O'Connell, nice to meet you.
He points at your flask. He actually has, like, a hip flask, attached to his belt. And he goes, yes, I too am a purveyor of nerve tonic. Yes. So,
best thing to get through the day.
He sits down, and you guys are on the sofa. He sits in the reading chair and just kind of clasps his hands in his lap and goes, so what can the Dr. Mordecai Lemming do for the two of you?
Well, I've actually been hearing your name around a lot recently. And
well, I should certainly hope so.
Oh, it's something that we dream of now, isn't it? But I've been listening. I've been hearing things about you, and
I should hope that they're good things. Of you know,
they are.
Good to us.
For a second.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear that. I like to make a good first impression, of course.
No, I wanted to know more about, as someone who is also interested in the breaking down of things, I wanted to know more about what you've been digging into, if that would be, and
well, I consider myself as a man who has his fingers in a lot of different pies at any given moment. I would like, I can certainly talk to a number of, as you can tell by the kind of company I keep here in my apartment, he says, gesturing at all the curios and knickknacks. I definitely consider myself knowledgeable of many topics. A gentleman's scholar, in the old style, I like to think of myself. So what topics in particular can I interest you in today, Mr. Pandey?
Pandey, yes. What are your thoughts on cults? That is what I've been...
Ooh, cults, very nasty business they are. Every culture has their cults, which funny, culture, cult. it's words are funny like that. It depends on what part of the world. Now, of course, you go back to things like ancient Greece, there were cults mainly just kind of occupying the terminology of a religion. We have our institutions, we have our churches. I am a Jewish man myself, but I consider myself tolerant of all beliefs across the world in this modern age. Back then, you have people who religious institutions were cults, and it was only I'd say within the modern centuries where the terminology of cult has taken on a more negative meaning because, of course, cults typically have the darker, more gross aspects, so it's yeah, kind of gives a so-so wave with his hand.
Sunil has clocked that they've run into a problem. They have two ramblers talking to each other.
Yeah,
Sunil's sitting there oh no, I'm interested in everything he has to say, but that's not what I'm here for.
Sunil, this man is garrulous
James
and
is
he's fascinating to listen to.
James very, very much trusting that Sunil's going to be able to steer this conversation, but if he doesn't, he's going to yank the
No, he's getting there. He's getting there. He's just actually, so I don't know if you've been reading the paper recently, and there's a sort of, I know that there has been a series of murders that have been going on. I believe that they have actually been associated with...
Oh, yes, the Adams murders. Yes, the ones from the last 2 years. Yes, those two. The one that they arrested the fella for about last autumn.
Fella, yes.
Yes.
Hilton, yes. They, I've heard... I'm trying to remember what we've actually been told and what I made up in my brain.
Sure.
We've actually...
James is just gonna step in while Sunil's kind of stammering. He's we have reason to believe that they could be connected to some form of cult activity.
The bloody tongue, yes.
Oh, well, back during the heat of the murders, I, of course, consulted. By consult, I should say I definitely gave my opinion to the right people. I like to make sure that the public is informed. And, like I said, as having many fingers and many different pies myself, yes, the murders had a a trend of strange symbology being carved into the victim's forehead. It's very bleak business. Like chuckles and like reaches for his hip flask and like takes like a sip of his nerve tonic and goes, very dark, very squeamish. I never saw the gross aspects of it myself, but from what the rune that was being carved into people's head, fascinating business. It was that of a it belonged to that of an African death cult. You mentioned the bloody tongue. I think that might have been the name, but more specifically, and I think that the newspapers took what I said and ran with it a little too much, was that while it was the symbol of an African death cult, I don't think that an African death cult is actually involved. More so that it's somebody, mimicking the symbol to stir up ill feeling. We live in a modern civilized age. Such a cult that is so dark and violent could not exist in modern times.
Right. Well, while we're on that topic, because that's what we're interested in right now, what do you know about the Bloody Tongue?
Oh, well, I don't know a great deal about the Bloody Tongue itself. I consider myself to know a number of folk topics from across the world, having read. I've never left New York. It's my home, born and raised, and it's a city I'm gonna die in, and I'm very content with that. But I don't know quite a lot of the actual details regarding this cult specifically. The rune was African, unquestionably. The name came up once or twice. But, if you're looking to look into more information regarding African folklore and the histories of these individual cults, I know a gentleman who might be able to help you with your inquests. There's a place up in Harlem, a lovely little curio shop called Juju House.
The proprietor called Juju House.
It does. I'm glad you're aware. Well, the proprietor, Mr. Silas Nakwane, wonderful gentleman, regularly sends me trinkets and fetishes. Charges very reasonable price for them too. He might be able to help you with some additional inquiries if that's your prerogative. Because unfortunately, my knowledge on this specific subject is rather small, and I think for the better. I think that kind of angle is a lot darker, a lot macabre. It's not the kind
You're
of
more into the broader angle of
exactly.
Not necessarily He's doing what I'm doing with my hands. Describe what I'm doing with my hands, because I can't do it.
Just kind of like moving your hands, gesticulating, like lumping like two different hands together and like shaking them around. Like, yeah. So it's like
putting them into claws, nearly steepling them together,
yes.
But actually just kind of missing and moving downward.
Yes. So and Mordecai like nods emphatically. It's like, yes, you understand. Yes.
It's
What, if you don't mind my asking, of course, what has latched your attention onto that old case?
He looks at James for a second for basically permission to say, to basically just be outward with it.
And James responds with a gesture, asking him if he'd rather have James do it.
Oh no, he's perfectly fine doing it. He's just
Then go right on ahead.
I know that we don't like getting into the idea of the macabre, but you mentioned earlier that you hadn't seen this particular marking up close. I can sadly say that recently I have. The murders have continued, and one of my dear friends, our dear friends, was the victim.
Was this that murder I read about in the papers a couple days ago? The Jackson Elias? Oh.
Yes.
It's a terrible business. I mean, look, I don't comment specifically on the proceedings of the New York City Police Department. If they caught the wrong guy, then I guess they caught the wrong guy. Or maybe there's multiple people trying to stir up craziness across the city. Either way, terrible business.
We were there.
Yeah,
we found him, and we found the people running off.
Oh, you have my sympathies. That sounds like an awful, terrible, tragic business. He was an author, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was. He was very into the occult.
No,
himself.
I know that. You know, I know that. I never met the man myself. I was aware of his work, found his book somewhat, macabre and sensationalist. But that's not my kind of flavors. But I mean, you understand, and my sympathies to you all the same.
Right.
Yes. No, I come here both in genuine interest and just to learn more about what possibly has befallen my friend, our friend.
Well, like I said, I would definitely recommend Silas Nakwane over at Juju House, since you already seem to know about it. He is, it's a good shop, very reasonable priced, so you can probably inquire there.
Right.
Are there, because Sunil doesn't have a physical list, but you can see him, like, ticking down a list in, like, the air a little bit. Mentally. And he's just like, It wasn't just the bloody tongue that we had interest in. Actually, I'm actually genuinely really enjoying speaking to you. So I'm sorry.
Oh, well, likewise, Mr. Bande. And your friend over there, the strong, silent type. You're doing great too.
I apologize for not speaking too much. He has a little more notes on this than I do. You are fairly entertaining, I have to admit.
Oh well, thank you very much.
It's I've also heard something else recently about a sort of black wind. Do you have any information on that?
Dr. Lemming kind of shrugs and just goes, "Oh, I mean, nothing specifically jumps out to me. I mean, the first thing that leaps to mind is, the biblical implications, the clouds of locust and all that. But the black wind, nothing that I recall. Is that connected? Is that connected to the to your African inquiries?
I don't remember where everything is from. Yes. The player, don't remember where everything is from. So
it is in fact connected in some way.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out what way it is. And we've known for a few things to kind of connect. We're just putting the dots together. Now, Mr. Lemming, you know a lot about mythology. You know a lot about all sorts of kind of things that people wouldn't really believe. And I know the macabre and cults aren't really your.
I just don't have the stomach for it, honestly speaking.
But our friend was in a state before the end of his life, and we're just trying to find some answers. If you would be interested, for research purposes, for your own, ends, for your own research, we'd be happy to let you know that kind of state he was in, if you'd be willing to.
The state kind. Do you mean like the physical, like
not the physical, more the mental?
Oh well, I mean, if you think it might be relevant to something that could interest me, I'm all ears.
It's general mythology, general knocking down of what the world around us truly hides underneath.
Well, tell me, what you got?
Our friend Jackson Elias, he very famous author, very well-known man, very straightforward, very in his right mind. We've never known him to be anything but we found, after his death, some notes that he had for us, showing us quite a different story near the end of his life.
Well, Mr. O'Connell, was it?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I speak frankly, at the risk of being rude?
Go right on ahead.
From what I recall of Mr. Elias's works, me finding them a little too sensationalist, a little too macabre. Honestly speaking, it is my professional opinion that those who really engage in the darker, more gross details of this kind of esoterica, I mean, it's not healthy for the longevity of one's mental health. But again, I'm not one of those psychoanalysts, Freudians, alienists. Take your pick.
Trust me, my friend. A few months earlier, I would have said the exact same thing.
Well, I don't know how to They're really built off
it's
of that. But,
fine.
yeah.
Don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
We're just curious.
Understandable. You know? It is a subject of great curiosity.
Actually, if I may take a step back, a few steps.
Oh, by all means, dance around the room if you have to.
Like, genuinely fucking. He really enjoys this man.
I'm glad.
James kind of does too. Like, this guy is just kind of really funny.
God, have you? This might seem completely off the wall, and I know we're trying to stay away from sensationalism here, but I'm just very interested. Have you heard of a Johnstone Kenyatta and something about the Carlisle expedition?
Well, no, the Carlisle expedition, that definitely rings a bell. Johnstone Kenyatta, never heard of him. Is he like a local or?
He actually was looking into the Carlisle expedition and a little bit into the Bloody Tongue. And I know you said that it's not really deep into a thing that you, but I did want to know if you knew
I've never heard of this Kenyatta individual, but the Carlisle expedition, that rings some bells. Yeah, I recall that was what, 19 back in 1919. Yeah, ill-fated. I remember hearing about that throughout all the different publications. Terribly gross business that was, you know, it's, you know, unfortunately, when you get that far out from civilization, things tend to get tense for certain folks. But that's you know, and
our friend Jackson was digging into that expedition.
I never knew.
He was always a truth finder. He always liked to kind of figure things out that people didn't understand.
Well, I mean, if you ask me honestly, the Carlisle expedition just sounds like a bad idea from the get-go. I mean, you had it spearheaded by Roger Carlisle, of all people. I didn't know him that closely myself, but I mean, he was a bit of a wastrel, you know?
Some playboy, yes.
Yeah, and it just... This is, I think, a strong case of when the very, very rich get it in their heads to do something just for the hell of it, it can have disastrous consequences.
But you do have to acknowledge the strange connections of looking into the Carlisle expedition, going a bit mad, and then finding yourself eviscerated in your hotel room with a strange symbol carved into your forehead.
I mean, as I've said before, honestly, given that this kind of business is way back in antiquity in terms of the kind of operations that these cults would have, engaged in, if the individuals here in New York are trying to stir up this kind of ill feeling using the symbology of a cult, what better message to staple onto their agenda than by killing somebody who was engaged in the macabre and the occult? You know, it's all lines up. If they found out about it, sure, it's just furthering a message. You know, it builds on the fear.
So your current running theory. Yeah. So your current running theory, I would like to bounce this off you for a second. Your current running theory is that it's not necessarily cultist, but it might be people who are emulating these cultists to send a sort of message.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, there's no way a cult like that could exist in the modern age.
Right.
Interesting.
I'm gonna do a quick psychology check.
Fucking go for it, dude.
Just in case, you know.
Just in case.
He seems sincere to me, but just in case. Oh, fuck.
Can I go ahead and make one since it wouldn't hurt anything?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I found out that I don't have to do the growl if I'm speaking as Sunil, so I might just end up doing that for the rest of
You're totally
forever.
Good.
Yeah. You're stuck now. You're stuck with this nice little dandy boy.
Both voices are very nice.
I almost clicked pharmacy instead of psychology.
What's this guy on?
Are you on any drugs, sir?
Yes, I take Visine every morning. No.
As expected.
Yes, as expected. I mean, this guy is very garrulous, and again, as I said to you, Sunil, he's fascinating to listen to. You're not getting, he giggles a lot. He is kind of awkward, takes sips from his flasks every so often. but like you're not getting anything from it. You're not getting anything off of it. Nothing is clocked to you. You know, if you have suspicions, then you have suspicions.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm gonna like address you as a player real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that we needed to get?
No, I was actually about to say that Sunil looks at James, gives him a polite nod, and then he's just like, not to drink and run. Actually, I think we've been here for a decent amount of time at this point, but still, not to drink and run. But I think we will be taking our leave. I know. It seems so.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's
unfortunately a bit time crunch.
That's it's of course understandable.
I do wish to have your contact, though. I would like to speak to you more during things.
Would you like
especially if I find something interesting.
Oh, I can get you my card if you'd like to ring me up at any time. I'd be happy to discuss this further.
I would definitely love you.
I'm here most of the time, so it's call anytime.
Discuss this and at least discuss something crazy over a drink.
Yes, of course. I don't go out to the speakeasies myself, but always happy to share company in my apartment.
I can assure you, there is no need for him.
He like fishes out a business card, which Mordecai Lemming's business card, I think at this point, and by what's on the card, it is so obvious to you, Sunil, as an academic. This guy is very self-styled. Like, he probably doesn't actually have a real doctorate. He's probably just one of those gentlemen. He's probably just one of those gentleman scholars who's just like, I have money, I read books, I'm gonna call myself a doctor. You know, it's like, I'm a folklorist.
I clocked that at the concierge when they were like, Mr. Sorry,
Dr. Lemming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but he's so fun.
This guy does not. Yeah, this guy seems like he has no formal qualifications, but he is like has an actual interest in the subject. So he hands you his business card. Yeah.
He doesn't need one. I'll call him a doctor. Fuck it.
He says he's a doctor. I'll call him a doctor.
Exactly.
I'm not a doctor.
I ain't no fucking doctor. I do quite the opposite job of a doctor.
He did not work this hard for a degree just for you to not call him doctor.
So Mordecai Lemming gives you his business card, and with some polite conversation, you guys are able to skedaddle out of there, and he just like waves from his door. You gotta come back anytime, ring me.
Yes.
Be happy to.
Disappears into his apartment. And yeah.
Well, on one hand, we didn't get anything. On the other hand,
we met a really nice man.
We met a really nice man. And we know, again, to go see Nakwane. It's just even more important. In fact, we technically now have a referral to Nakwane.
Yes, we do. A way to get ourselves in the door. I'm assuming that at this point, they're probably gonna, because they don't know when the others are coming back, they're probably just gonna head back to the plaza.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, easily.
If that is what is happening, while they're on their way to either, I think, did they bring a rental car here? Or did they? It doesn't really matter.
They didn't bring a rental car, but like, I mean, that is a good point. The two of you, did you take whatever car Sybil would have been rented? Like, because Sybil has probably rented multiple cars.
Actually, there's 3 of them, so they. Oh, never mind. Yeah. She rented multiple cars.
Because you all can't fit in one car, so there's at least 2 cars. And it's not like that they are. Sybil, correct me if I'm wrong here. There are chauffeurs. There's a driver for all these cars.
I think actually. No, don't get me wrong. Sybil would get a chauffeur at pretty much any opportunity, but also, James can drive rather well.
Okay.
And I think because my thought is like Sybil probably gets chauffeurs, but also I feel like at the very least her and James would have a car that they rented, because I feel like James is the sort of person who would prefer to drive himself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I was about to say, it's like James is the I'm driving type.
Yeah. So in that case, Sybil probably has actually just got 2 cars rented.
One for James, one for Kit.
Yeah.
So while they're in the car, Sunil, after saying the pleasant, oh, that was a nice conversation, etc., he goes, James, I think we might have some time. Is it possible for us to do some looking around of New York? This might seem weird, but
A lot of things are weird, Sunil. Tell me where to go, I'll drive the direction.
I just wanted to say that Sybil's been a bit more down, and I wanted to do something for her. You would know what the best thing to do would be. I don't know what to get the woman that has everything. Can we find something?
Tell you what, we can certainly try.
I will talk to Split about this in DMs,
sure.
and whatever it is, it will just be in the
Yeah.
hotel room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you guys can totally take the time, which will connect the two different timelines. We'll jump back over across New York up into Harlem, with the gang having finished their meeting with Millie Adams and are, stepping outside of the Lafayette Theater.
So, Teddy's?
I mean, checks watch, since we were technically on different times from that entire scene.
Yeah, I mean, the meeting with Millie Adams was probably no more than an hour.
I was gonna say,
So it's around 5 o'clock, 5:30.
I'd say pushing 6 by this point. Pushing 6.
Yeah, Teddy's, like she said, they'd probably be around towards the end of the working day, so now's as good as time as any.
Let's go!
And just to clarify, Rebecca is still at the theater, just wrapping up with Millie, but basically told you guys to, go off on your own. If you need her help, she'll contact. So let me rephrase. If you need her help, she's certain that you will call her. Otherwise, she'll just let you know when she's gotten a meeting with Hilton up at Sing Sing for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. If the three of you wanna, which it's not far, it's just a block or two away, you easily find yourself to Teddy's saloon at this hour.
And then as a player, what does it go for Teddy's again?
That's what that's the one thing I'm stuck on.
Well, Teddy's, the goal there is that Hilton's friends, his war buddies that he went on patrols with through Harlem, all meet at Teddy's around at the end of the day. So we were going to talk to them, see if they had any information, if they noticed anything odd, just sort of that type of, touch base, see what's going on, maybe see if things add up or they don't add up, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But with the snow kind of piled up, around the sidewalks, it's a little bit of a light flurry going on tonight. It's already dark by now, and the overcast skies definitely, aid that. But because this is New York and this is Harlem after dark, it's very well lit. And you're also not far from the Cotton Club, which is a hot nightclub here in Harlem. So the area is very active right now. But Teddy's saloon itself seems to be like a working men's club, well attended, but on the quieter side.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just assume you guys are going inside. Yeah, it's plainly, though comfortably furnished. There's tables, booths around the walls, small stage at the end of the room. Bar against one wall. It's got your array of sodas, hot drinks. There's a little bit of a food smell in the air, giving the impression that this place probably has a limited menu. The lighting is adequate, but there's a thick pall of cigarette and cigar smoke that clouds the atmosphere, aided and abetted by a very grubby front window. There's a couple people milling around here. A gentleman behind the bar, kind of a very light ambient jazz group playing on the little small stage, similar to the music we have currently playing. It's a very comfortable, low key place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys want to Kit like reaches into like a breast pocket and takes out a handkerchief and sort of holds it up to his mouth. Do you guys want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, you don't have to be in here if it's not good for your health.
Kit just sort of like shakes a hand as in, no, I'm fine. No, it's fine. I can deal with it.
Okay, we'll try to make
It's
it
just
quick.
a little smoky.
Okay. Yeah, we just gotta find us some people who we've never met before. Woohoo!
And then talk to him.
And then talk to them. That's no problem. It's us. It's us.
You two are good at that. Exactly.
We got this. This is absolutely no problem.
Okay.
see, like,
so when we walk in, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, the fact that you guys are like standing, like, just, you know, inside having this conversation, just like the guy behind, the barman, just goes, who's like just like kind of cleaning down, just kind of like keeps looking at you like with the expectant like look of a proprietor who's like, are they gonna fucking come in or what? Like, are they just like kind of annoyed by these people standing in his doorway, but it is not making like a fuss about it. He's just kind of like off to the side there, just like just goes back to his job.
Are there any groups of men just?
There's a few. This place seems to be popular after working hours. So there's a few groups of different men all like seated around the area.
I mean, you could ask the barkeep. He'd probably know everyone around here.
Yep. So Sybil's gonna hop on up to the bar.
You gotta walk over to the bar. The barman clocks you with a nod and just goes, "What can I get you?"
Oh, club soda. And
Goes about
glances
like
back
pouring.
at Mason and Kit. Gestures.
Yeah, no. I mean, Kit would have accompanied you up. So
Just like,
Mason
like what
took a
what
seat.
you basically asking her, like, you know, what would you? And these two would like.
I'll just get a water.
Goes about pouring club soda, pouring a water,
Same, please.
pours a water for Kit,
Boring.
serves the 3
Very
drinks,
thankful.
takes the money from you, Sybil.
Hi. Sorry. Obviously, I'm sure you can figure out that we're not from around here. It's not exactly subtle.
You say that we're not exactly from around here, and like he just kind of like nods like acceptingly, and there's a brief glance at the room, which is predominantly African American, and this Snow White girl standing in the middle of a smoke-filled room just kind of like nods, just goes like agrees.
Sybil is completely just like, does not give a shit. Like, I don't belong here at all. That's fine.
This guy, the barman, has the kind of the air of like, I mean, if you're buying drinks and if you're not causing problems, then I don't care who you are. He's kind of like, yeah.
We're actually looking for a few people. Sybil's like going through, trying to think of like the names. Looking for a Needham Johnson or an Art Wallace or a Douglas Fells.
Wait, he kind of like the barman just kind of like furrows his brow like a little bit, just doesn't like nod, just kind of like holds the same position, goes, "What's it to you?"
Well, we I suppose we have a mutual acquaintance at this point, and we were just wondering if maybe we could ask them some questions.
For what purpose?
What we're trying to do, Mrs. Adams, is solid.
You're looking to help Hilton?
Yes.
Kind of clocks the three of you. Gives a slight nod in the direction of a booth over from the bar. Doesn't say anything else.
All right, thank you very much.
Goes back to its work, which
Sybil tips very well.
His eyebrows go up, but he makes no other point of a reaction. He just tucks the money into his apron. Yeah, the booth he pointed you in the direction of. There are 4 men huddled over in there, currently drinking coffee. You can see that they're occasionally like sharing words. You can't hear that at this distance, but like mostly they're just sitting in silence. It's that comfortable silence of old friends is the kind of what you perceive from the four of them. They're all just kind of like seated over there, and they do match the description that Millie gave you for the four of them.
All right, great. Wonderful. I guess
I always
we're
get nervous starting the conversation.
right.
Like, as a person.
Like, waltzes right. What? Hello, fellas.
You walk over and the four of them turn to meet your attention. I'm going to describe these guys in turn just so you know all of them. Give me 1 second to pull up my notes. So the first gentleman that you see is very handsome, clean-shaven African-American man, average height and build. He has this like thick hair slicked back into waves. And he's wearing this very well cared for pinstripe suit. The second man, there it is much more physically robust, with large, kind of dexterous looking hands, this unwavering gaze, wearing this kind of threadbare old suit smeared with what looks like clay and slip, unkempt hair with a day or so stubble that darkens his face. The third man, which is also a very good movie, The Third Man, starring Orson Welles. The Third Man is a dressed in a collar and tie, sleeves have been rolled up just past the elbows, keeps his hair that's like receding in very short, but this very incredibly well trimmed mustache. And then lastly, the final man is on the smaller side of those he's keeping company with. He wears a pullover and a bow tie, and his hair is kept quite short and well oiled. The four of them kind of regard you for a moment. Kit, I'm going to ask you to make a luck roll for me very quickly.
Sure. Hard success.
Yeah.
Okay. If only that would, there we go. Hard success. Okay. We're going to actually pull away from this scene for a moment to actually jump back to the war. Back when, back near relatively the end of the war. I'm going to leave the music playing because it's not going to be an extensive scene. But this is, you know, we flash back to, like, you know, this is a slightly younger Kit who actually has both halves of his face intact. And you are familiar with the Harlem Hellfighters just by name and reputation, obviously. I think with a hard success, let me think about this for a second. Hold on. Because I was like, I had to think about this. I'll give you the choice. I'm gonna phrase this very, very, very vaguely.
Okay.
Music or medicine?
I'll
let you decide where I'm going with this.
You know, Kit was actually infantry, so I'm gonna go with music.
Okay. One of these guys at the table strikes you as familiar. Not like in a deep sense of, I know it, looking at his face, there's an almost immediate sense of like, I feel like I know this person. So you flash back to the war. You remember at one point during a particular lull, there were some members of the Harlem Hellfighters. You actually got to see some of them perform, like the jazz band that like accompanied them. You remember like getting to see a bit of that. Not sure however extensively, that's up to you. But the man with the very well trimmed mustache strikes you as familiar. You remember a guy who looked very similar to this guy, absolutely just shredding on a trumpet in the jazz band back during the war. Never got his name, never met him personally, but like the amount of passion that went into this guy's music left an impression on you. The jazz he played that you got to witness this one time, you kind of immediately flash back to the present, kind of recalling this gentleman as a very talented musician. But they meet your eye, Sybil, after you walk up and greet them. Let me look at my notes very quickly. I'll say that the four of them regard you with like steely cold eyes. They don't like super like give you anything to go off of, but one of them, the gentleman with the nice pinstripe suit, kind of goes, yeah, how can I he kind of like leans back in his chair a bit. How can I help you?
Well, God, I'm sorry. I'm like, Sybil, I need you to pick it up. No, nope, okay, she's gone. Cool. It's not like I needed you to have this conversation or anything. Shoot.
Mason?
Mason, yeah, sorry.
I'm trying to figure out how to start off this conversation. All the words just felt like I opened my mouth to talk. And
Kit looks over his handkerchief, looks to Sybil, looks to Mason, just sort of nods a little and takes it away from his mouth and approaches.
Yeah, like in this kind of like stiff, like awkward, like Mason and Sybil are just kind of like the one time Sybil is socially awkward. The coolness of the room. The coolness like subsides from one of them, like the guy with like who's in the pullover with the shorter hair, leans forward, just gives this kind of like reassuring smile, and like leans a little bit back in his booth seat and just goes, how can we help you? Is there something you need?
We hate to interrupt your evening, gentlemen, but a certain Mrs. Adams directed us here and said that you might be willing to talk to us a bit.
Okay, I'm gonna go in turn here. The one in the pinstripe suit kind of like forms like a thin line with his mouth and just kind of furrows his brow. The larger gentleman with the clay stained suit just goes back to like looking down at his coffee. The guy with the mustache, who Kit you remember as a jazz musician from the war, just kind of like finicks and like shifts in his seat, kind of like nervously. And the guy who just addressed you, his smile doesn't falter, but there's this like weariness that like kind of comes over him as he just kind of nods, and just there's a silence, and the one who just addressed you goes, what's up? Go ahead.
Can I roll a psychology check to see what these guys are thinking?
Go for it.
Or like what exactly is like
Sure.
so uncomfortable? This table's pretty.
Wow,
I've
very
succeeded
nice.
that psychology check though.
Fuck.
So unfortunately, neither of you actually get anything because these men are very guarded. You would have needed a hard success, unfortunately, Sybil. Rip and skip. These men are very guarded. They don't seem like they want to talk about it, but more than that, like it's hard to get from them. But like the guy who just spoke up says, do you mind if I get your names, friends?
Sybil Cordova.
I'm Mason.
Kit Sullivan.
He gestures at himself and says, name's Jackie Wallace. Then points at his individual friends in turn. Points at the guy with the mustache, the jazz musician, and says, that there's Art Mills. Gestures at the larger fellow, Douglas Fells. Then lastly, the guy in the pinstripe suit. And that's Needham Johnson.
Lovely to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
They kind of nod curtly. So what is it, this is Jackie Wallace speaking. Says, so what is it that the four of you have to do with Millie Adams that involves us? And you see that Needham Johnson goes, oh, come on, Jackie. We don't gotta talk to these guys. And then Jackie just kind of like holds up a hand and goes, it's all right, Needham. I think I can hear them out, at the very least.
We might be able to help your friend.
Let's make this simple. Your friend is in jail for murders that he did not commit, and our friend was just supposedly murdered in the same way.
Needham goes as if Needham goes as if we didn't already fucking know that.
My point is merely that we have mutual interests.
You see that Douglas kind of like looks up from his coffee. All of them at some point in turn lock eyes with you, Kit. In that deep way of acknowledging they can just tell that you were a soldier, not even with a scar. And I'm gonna give this to you without any sense of role. All four of these men bear the mark of a soldier one way or another. Douglas is the one who looks the most affected. You know the look of someone who suffers from shell shock.
Yeah.
And you see,
this isn't exactly a conflict that you have to. Oh god.
No, you go first.
Now this isn't exactly something that you have to get directly involved with. Not again. But we just wanted to possibly ask some questions so that we can help your friend and figure out, who really did this.
Jackie.
All we have to do is talk to you for a little bit, and we'll be out of your hair.
Douglas, Art, and Needham don't like check out. Needham seems like he just doesn't want to be having this conversation. He's like trying to ignore this, and he looks like irate. Art is just kind of like shifting in his seat kind of all the time, just constantly like fiddling and like drumming his fingers around. And Douglas just kind of like sits there with just an unwavering gaze locked on you guys. Jackie is the only one who so far seems to be not like engaged, but is like the most amiable of the four. And he goes, did Millie send you to talk to us?
She didn't send us, but she did say you would be here if we wanted to find you.
Nods with a goes, all right, well, they seem like good folks. What do you want to know? We'll see what we can answer.
Kit like pipes up, and it is to Sybil and Mason. This is completely random, but Kit has been looking at Art a little bit the entire time, and Kit just sort of pipes up and just says, "This is gonna sound bizarre, but you, sir, Mr. Mills."
Yes, that's my name.
Play the trumpet. Do you play the trumpet?
I do, as a matter of fact. I do play. I've played for a number of years myself. I was in the jazz band with our regiment.
That's where I remember you from.
Kind of gives you a curious look. You were in Europe, I take it?
Yes, sir. 165th Fighting Irish.
Fighting Irish, no shit. They all kind of like recognize the term. Well, good to see you on the side then.
Yeah, good to see you all too. No, I remember you playing. It's beautiful.
Thank you very kindly. I'm always happy to perform, but really you have Jim Reese Europe to thank for the performance. He was in charge of directing all of that. Wonderful gentleman. Learned a lot from him myself.
Good to know. Thank you. It's always good to see a familiar face in one way or another, even if you didn't know they were familiar to begin with.
I think Needham at this point just kind of like cuts you off, Kit, and just says, "You want to jump to your line of questions, please?"
Kit sort of like does the little like, he's like, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. Hard to talk.
Oh, this poor man.
You see that Douglas actually, I'd say, like, with you coughing in the background, Kit, like, actively, like, just kind of says, "Do you want a glass of water? I have an extra."
Kit probably already finished his a while ago and just sort of like
slides you his.
nod. Thank you, sir. Takes it,
Douglas nods and
Drinks,
goes,
sips.
"So what do you want to know?"
As the player, I'm like trying to figure out what questions we can ask that like we already haven't been told by Millie.
Well, if anything, we just want to know if you ever saw anything on your patrols, especially around the Juju house.
They all kind of look at each other when you mention Juju house. And Jackie kind of goes, "You've been looking into this, I can tell." I mean, you've talked to Millie. I don't know what else to tell you myself. I mean, honestly, it started off, some friends looking out for the neighborhood. Needham speaks up and says, "Well, we noticed there was a pattern, if you must know. It was, yeah, the papers don't talk about it, and, except for the age, of course, but that's until they stop me from publishing. There were disappearances before there were murders. We got involved back at the start of that. There was a pattern. Usually 2 people, sometimes more, same time every month. We patrolled. Sometimes we found things, sometimes we didn't. One time, Hilton stumbled across someone being attacked, drove the attacker off. Art cuts in and says, I remember that from the fight, he tore, the attacker had some sort of weird mask. He ripped a piece of red cloth from the mask the attacker was wearing.
The red cloth.
Yeah. It wasn't long after that the police started to make their threats. Everyone kind of nods. Jackie cuts in and says, they approached us all in their own individual ways, as I'm sure we could tell you. We never found any other physical evidence besides that piece of cloth, which the police took, of course. Everything else was purely observation and conjecture, all recorded in Hilton's journal, also taken by the police. You see that Needham says, yeah, that journal probably doesn't exist anymore.
Hey, just a question. So the mask from Peru, it didn't have any cloth or anything on it, did it?
No, it did not.
Okay.
It was pure gold, baby.
Pure gold, baby.
I think it goes back to Jackie, or Jackie seems to be the talker of the group. And Jackie says, well, Hilton was convinced he'd track down a new lead, something to do with Juju House. But before he could tell us much more about it, or even confirm his own suspicions, he was arrested.
Was anyone around when he was arrested? Or was it just him and the police?
Needham says, isn't it always just us and the police? No one else was around. No one else that would attest differently, of course.
Of course.
And you weren't there when he was arrested?
No. He went out by himself that night.
Any idea why he went out by himself? Just looking into that lead?
Well, no, I mean to say that he wasn't out by himself on the patrol. He pursued the screams by himself while he told us to go get help.
Ah!
Right.
That'll do it.
Are they withholding information from us?
You already failed your psychology roll earlier, so I'm not going to give you another one.
Ah, fuck. Okay.
I didn't roll. Actually, no. I don't think Kit would roll psychology at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine with them, so.
And yeah, Jackie kind of like cuts in and goes, and well, I mean, that's the long and short of it, I'm afraid. And now Hilton's in prison. And here we are. And that's the story. Sorry, it's not more exciting.
It's fucked up.
I think Needham, Jackie, and Art all kind of like scoff, but Douglas just gets like a solid, like solemn nod.
So, since then, there haven't been any other disappearances, huh?
They all look at each other grimly, and Needham speaks up and says, no, there are still disappearances.
Just
Go figure.
Let me illustrate this very cleanly for you, just so you understand the full picture. Points at himself, and he says, after Hilton was arrested, and after the police made their threats a little bit more emphatically, things are still happening in Harlem. What can we do about it? He points at himself and he says, my employers making me distance myself from this case. I can't write about it. I can't publish it. My family, they are targets in this. They've told me, they've made it perfectly clear that Captain, what might happen to those who pry their nose into the wrong business. He points over at Douglas and says, Douglas here is an artist. He's been threatened as well. Softest man you've ever met. Nice guy. Douglas kind of like averts his gaze a little awkwardly. But Needham says, you know what happened to him? Breaking in his studio. Almost destroyed it. No culprit was found. No culprit was found. The police didn't care. Probably them. He points over at Art and says, you see Art? And he points over at you, Kit, and says, you mentioned you saw him back in the war? Well, great. Art's one of the most talented musicians I've ever met. An incredible performer. You know what he did when he got back from the war? Played in clubs, speakeasies. He was pretty good. You know what happened now, after this whole thing? Struggling to get the jobs. And recently, what was it that happened to you, Art? And Art speaks up and says, I received a hefty fine for being caught in possession of a bottle of whiskey. Which is hilarious, because I don't even drink. And Needham says, yes, another one of the great Captain Robson's ploys. And then he points over at Jackie and is about to speak when Jackie actually says, like, holds up his hand and goes, I can speak for myself, Needham. I'll speak plainly, because you folks do seem alright. I like that your hearts seem pure, and you actually give a damn about this case. I hope you understand that our hands are simply tied where we are. I'm a nurse at the hospital here in Harlem. I've got some medical experience during the war. Well, no, I'm not a nurse, I'm an orderly. I'm trying to become a nurse. It's very difficult for men to become nurses, I have learned.
Kid just nods.
He nods back. You understand. And I'm also, a little older than the general herd. I've been passed over before, but I might be getting into the nurses training program in the next intake. I've never been able to become a doctor like I wanted to be, but at the very least I'm trying to be a nurse. And this involvement in Hilton's case, I have one chance to become a medical professional, and it is slipping away. My heart hurts for my friend and the hurt that has happened to our community. But and I speak for everyone here when I say this, we're just tired. But I'm happy.
Mason,
I'm happy to help with information and, God forbidding, medical assistance, but we do have our own families, careers, lives to look after right now.
Mason nods, just kind of in like an understanding. No, I totally get that. I wasn't.
No.
We're not here to ask you to dive back in head first. We just wanted to possibly get some questions so that we could.
Yeah. You've done enough. We can take it from here.
Art Mills actually looks up at you when you say that and says, "What are you going to do? What are you considering? How are you getting involved?"
Well,
Mason kind of rubs his hands together and grabs a chair, flips it around, and sits down, kind of like resting his arms, just like resting. He's just, well, for starters, we're gonna search out that Juju house. We've heard that name quite a few times as we've been investigating this. Also, do you guys happen to know about Silas Nakwane? By chance?
The four of them, in their own way, shrug. The name doesn't latch onto them.
No, that was just worth a shot. We're gonna figure out what the cops are doing. We're gonna figure out what's going on over at Juju House. We're gonna figure out who's been doing this shit. If it's not, the two motherfuckers that killed our friend, then it's possibly more than that. It sounds like you said that the police are involved, employers are involved. Seems like they're fucking everywhere. I don't work here, so I'll get involved.
I think Douglas to that just kind of says, "There's no way to fight this. You don't understand. You don't understand the hold that they have on this neighborhood."
I'm not from here. Of course, I wouldn't understand, but I'll do the best that I can.
Needham says, "If you're not from here, forgive me for being cynical. If you're not from here, then you should be expecting that the police will have no qualms about making someone who is unknown around these parts disappear."
Wouldn't be the worst thing that's happened to me so far.
The fact that you're not known around here, maybe you'll get something done. What the fuck do I know?
We're gonna try to make this right. I can't promise that anything will change, but I'm gonna do my best. We're gonna do our best to get some results and to save your friend. Sybil, Kit, do you guys have any other questions?
I don't think so. I think I think we've done enough. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Kid sort
we
of
won't bother you
nods.
anymore.
I'd love to meet you gentlemen under better circumstances sometime.
Jackie kind of like gives you the nod and acknowledgement, Kit, and says, well, perhaps. But, just keep in mind, it's a cruel, cruel thing to raise a woman's hopes if you have no intention of seeing it through to the bitter end. Justice isn't just for the dead.
Agreed.
Let's hope we don't get to the dead part of that. Fingers crossed.
He nods.
With like a little kind of like wink
And in their own individual ways, the four men dismiss you from their social environment and just kind of fall back into silence and the occasional chit chat about how horrible the weather is. Yeah.
All right. Whew, let's get Kid out of here.
Yeah, let's go.
Kid just nods, doesn't say anything.
Yeah, and the five of you easily peel out of there, make your way out of Harlem, go back down to the plaza. Before we go on break, I just have to know, what did Sunil and James end up getting Sybil?
James, do you want me to, or
We had a lot of talk about what exactly it was that we were gonna get. It started like the idea was very simple at first. Something exotic, specifically something spiritual that would, kind of key into whatever to our interests. When we first started looking at a bunch of stones, we started looking at all these kinds of things and looking at the meanings and magics behind them. But we had a different thought.
we ended up going with getting her 6 I Ching coins for divination.
Ooh!
As a necklace. One that she can untie, unchain, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
just
I love
use them all
that.
as she pleases.
I love that.
Ooh. Oh, it's so cool. Thank you. This is so neat.
Sybil,
Oh my God.
Sybil's
She, like, puts it on and
appreciation.
she's like jumping up and down.
Yeah, Sybil's appreciation
excited.
reaches a vocal frequency that can only be heard by dogs. Like all around the plaza, you
Gives
just hear
Sunil the
"Brr,
biggest
brr."
hug and gives James the biggest kiss.
Oh, thank you. You're so nice. Thank you. You didn't have to get me anything.
Hand directly down on head. You deserve something.
Yeah, you deserve something.
Oh no! So I was like, oh god, emotions. Thank you. So just trying to process, like,
Forehead kiss. Relax. Don't worry about it. Just wanted to do something nice.
Thank you. And Sunil,
big hug.
I promise I won't steal your hat for like a whole 12 hours.
She's
Oh my
lying.
goodness, a new record.
So, fellas, did you get anything?
Mason, I can only do so much at one time.
We got a.
No, I'm not saying anything for me.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
information. Ha ha ha!
We got a. recommendation.
We
So
got a
this-
recommendation
I got already.
to Silas Nakwane. So at the very least, we have a name to drop if we want to.
Oh, okay.
We heard a lot about Silas Nakwane as well.
Sunil is just like, Kid, do you? He just got. Are they in like the lobby? He's gonna find some way to get Kit some water. Like he's
Yeah,
just gonna
it's easy. It's easy enough to get him some water. Yeah, glass after glass.
Oh, thank you. I'm fine. It's fine.
No. Here.
He's justified.
Yes, Sunil. Thank you. No, Mrs. Adams had a lot to say about the Juju house and how certain things seem to be going on around it. She'd been staking it out for a while, and it seemed her husband had a vested interest in it before he was removed from the playing field.
There's a lot going on in Harlem.
People are still disappearing.
Yeah.
It's not
No
just murders,
murders.
it's also disappearances.
No surprise there.
Oh, also cops confirmed terrible.
Well, no shit.
I've known that for a lot longer than this, but
Always have been.
Good.
1920s disaster gang says ACAB.
Yes. I was like, can I get it in? How could I get it naturally into a sentence?
We don't need to. Keeper did it.
Yes.
I mean, we could
Genuinely
buy.
could have said, "Oh, cops are bastards."
Yeah.
I actually considered
We
it.
could call
Hang on.
a cab.
All cops are bastards.
Oh, there we go. Freeze frame.
little point. We all jump, high five, freeze frame. The credits
Also
start to
trans
roll.
rights.
God, excellent. Hell yeah. So, you know, with things winding down at the plaza, the five of
Thank
you fill each other in, recap, and with it getting late, you know, get some food in your bellies, things wind down until eventually you all go to bed. Tomorrow is Monday when the reading of Jackson's will be held. And we are going to go to a quick break. So, don't go anywhere. We will be back very soon. And yeah, keep watching, and we love you guys very much. So, don't go anywhere.
The Hollow Men by T.S. Eliot. Mr. Kurtz, he dead. A penny for the old guy. 1. We are the Hollow Men. We are the stuffed men, leaning together, headpiece filled with straw. Alas, our dried voices when we whisper together are quiet and meaningless as wind in dry grass, or rats' feet over broken glass in our dry cellar. Shape without form, shade without color, paralyzed force, gesture without motion. Those who have crossed with direct eyes to death's other kingdom, remember us, if at all, not as lost, violent souls, but only as the hollow men, the stuffed men.
Hello, everyone. We are back. And for whatever reason, the Roll20 window is not showing up on the stream. So I need to fix that.
Oh, fuck.
Roll 20 broke.
Roll 20, bro.
Oh, there we go. It's back. It's fixed. We're back. All right. Hello. We are returned from break.
Black
So-
screen. Behind. There it is. Never mind.
Yep. Well, all right. So welcome back, everyone. So I think if everyone's cool with it, we're just going to skip. It's Monday morning, January the 19th. We're going to go ahead and jump forward to the reading of the will, unless there's anything else people want to do beforehand, anything they want to bring
I
up.
want to know what's in the
Read
fucking will.
Will.
Read
All right, hear me out. Terrible idea for a game show, but every episode it is an exciting battles to the death reading over a close friend's will.
That would actually be a great fucking show.
It would probably. Yeah, it's like some it'd be one of those that like mid-afternoon schlock that shows up on like you know between Dr. Phil and whatever else.
You
God,
actually
yeah.
just fucking like made me. See, here's the thing. I would actually watch that though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another day of Will Read Will. I'm your host, William Willerson.
No, hold on. In this day and age of the celebrity hosts, it would be hosted by Will I Am. Thank you very much.
This guy's
Choice.
got
Fine
it.
Choice.
That's a fine choice, Will.
Somebody call Hollywood.
Right now.
Right now, we got a fucking amazing idea.
It's
Anyway,
right.
this Will.
Yes, it's right. Yes. So, it's been scheduled for this afternoon at Carlton Ramsey's office, which the details of getting to it have already been provided for you. Strangely, everything goes back to Harlem. Carlton Ramsey's office is up in Harlem at 124th Street and Lenox Ave. So you guys are just
being followed.
Make a spot hidden check. I will enable it every
Forgot to
time.
ask today.
Also, you don't notice anything. Oh. I love how it's almost every failed check is immediately preceded by Kristen making an attempt, and I'm just like, and then like she usually succeeds, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. So Mason, you don't notice anything, but all this talk of death cults and the murders and disappearances, it's got you paranoid, but you don't. If someone's watching you, you don't notice it, and you're not sure how to feel about that. Sybil, I'll say this every single time. The only eyes are on you are the eyes you want on you. So, yeah, exactly.
Listen, whenever Mason Allen fails a check, I have to immediately follow up to flex on it.
Siblings.
And here I thought you were doing it
worst.
to help me.
It's partially to help you, but also because Sybil would do it to flex on Mason Allen.
Children,
Absolutely.
please.
I'm just saying I'm better at spot hiddening.
And I'm just trying not to die. I don't know. Like, that's.
I appreciate both of your efforts.
Yes. So the five of you very easily make your way back up into Harlem to the building where Carlton Ramsey's offices are. Which, you find your way up there. The office itself is small, simply decorated, very neatly kept. It's like a 2-room suite. It's the room that you enter into. It's the secretary, which you immediately recognize as the young black woman from the funeral, Willa Sly, sitting behind the desk. She very quickly just says, "Oh, you're here for the will reading?"
Yes.
I'll
Good
get
afternoon.
my uncle. And she walks over, knocks on the door to Carlton's office, leans in and says, they're here. You hear movement, and she just kind of like offers you like a small like smile, just in a nod of appreciation, goes back to like sitting down, kind of like goes back to what she's working on. A moment later, the door opens, and Carlton, who you remember from the funeral, steps out. And just to re-describe him again, just this small, wiry guy, kind of got like a nervous energy about him. Very expensive, bespoke suit, a little shiny and frayed, and has pasted some strands of his very well-oiled hair across his balding pate. So he steps out, and just says, "Thank you all for coming. Please come and like gestures into his office." Thank you. Once everyone's inside, Carlton goes to like a cupboard, gets a bottle of like good bootleg bourbon out of the in like in a series of glasses, and begins to pour one for everybody, including himself. And there are chairs. I see that there are like 3 chairs in here, so 2 people have to stand. But he like serves the glasses, and hands out, and just kind of like takes a moment, like sit back in his desk, and while everyone just like you raise your glass and a toast, James. He holds his up too.
I'm just assuming at this point that Kit and James are the ones standing, because of course they are.
Yeah,
Of course they are.
Carlton just kind of goes on and says, once again, thank you all for coming. It's a terrible business that we're engaged in, but please make yourself at home, get comfortable, enjoy the bourbon. I have to say, I appreciated your speeches at Jackson's funeral. They were very, very well said, and even those of you who didn't speak, I didn't speak. I understand. It's well. I apologize. It's just, you know, while he may have been my client, Jackson Elias was also my friend, so... Friends to friends.
He's a good man.
Friends.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. God, I just think back on our entire history. I can barely remember a time when I wasn't Jackson's attorney. For as long as he's been a writer, at the very least. Well.
You're a little more familiar with him than I am, unfortunately.
But that does not at all negate the bond that I know he shared with the five of you. Jackson was like that. Could make best friends with almost anyone in an hour or less, depending on the day and how much scotch he carried with him at the time. Well,
Sour.
He goes on to say, well, we needn't linger. We can. He sets his glass down and gets behind the desk and, you know, straightens his papers. We can proceed with the reading of the will, if that is amiable to all of those present.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty then. Well, it is, as I've said before, you five are named directly in Jackson's will by name, and are the only recipients of anything he left behind, with the exception of some small donations to the orphanage in Connecticut where he was raised, and the Harlem Boys Club. The rest is attributed to your five names. I will now read Jackson's will. And if you have any questions, I can try my best to extrapolate on them as they come up. So, he begins to pull forth like a number of like papers to go over.
Twitch.
Hmm?
Twitch.
I think Twitch is doing something right now.
It might have come back. You were.
Yeah, we're back. We're back now.
Yeah, okay, are we back?
Checking.
Yeah, we're good.
Chat right now.
Okay,
We're good.
we're back. We're good.
We live.
I'm gonna repeat some things just for the sake of the VOD if we end up having to, if because like nothing was offline on my end, but so I'll just repeat some things.
Yeah.
So he gets a number of papers out, and he says, you five are the only ones named in Jackson Elias' will, and therefore will be the recipients of whatever it is he has bequeathed, with the exception of some donations made to the orphanage in Connecticut, where he grew up, and the Harlem Boys Club. It is just you five. So, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I can extrapolate on them when needed. He goes on to actually read through the will in its entirety, breaking off like frequently to explain various details further. Here are the important points that you get through the will reading. So Elias has given full power of attorney to Ramsey, who has complete authority of his to liquidate his assets. And Ramsey has been instructed to use these assets to create and manage a fund. Jackson has requested that you five make use of this fund to continue his investigation of the Carlisle expedition. Ramsey will make disbursements from the fund to pay for travel, accommodation, living costs, equipment purchases, legal bills, and medical expenses. You should make sure that you acquire the necessary receipts and send them to Ramsey in a timely fashion. Moreover, Ramsey has been instructed to act as a central point of contact for you guys. If you should split into multiple groups, he will coordinate communication between them. He will also assist with recruitment if you need to hire people with special skills, or to bolster your numbers should any of you be unable to continue. A number of people from Jackson's little black book. And then lastly, Carlton kind of like puts the papers down himself and reaches over into a separate folder, and he says, and last, but by no means the least, when Jackson visited me last week, mere days before his tragic demise, to update his will to these specifications, he also left a letter behind to be read to you five in the event of his death. I have been instructed to read this letter to you. And he pulls a paper out from the folder. Let me go ahead and put this letter... Oh, the clue window exists. I forgot about that. So, I will give this to my players as well, before I read it. Oh, it's gonna send sideways for some reason. That's okay. Well, oh no, it's right side up. That's good. Never mind. All right. So, Carlton gets the paper up and begins to read from it. Greetings from beyond the grave. By now, you know that all I've really left you is a whole lot of trouble. If I were still around to have an opinion on the matter, I would understand if you decided to walk away from it all. Hell, if I'm dead right now, that's a good indication I should have done the same. But you know me too well, and I know you too well. If you were the kind of person who always did the sensible thing, we wouldn't be such good friends. You have been there when I needed you in the past, and I hope you will be again, even if it's too late to save me. I've been pulling threads all over the world, and while most of them are still unraveling, I think I'm onto something big. Carlton and Jonah can fill in more of the details for you. I've left some of my papers and notes with them, which should help you work out which hornet's nest you need to poke next. I trust you to bring my killers to justice. Of course, I'm assuming I was murdered. It would be just plain embarrassing if I was run over by a trolley car. Follow my investigation to its bloody end, and seek out the truth. I'm not asking you to finish my book. None of you can write worth a damn. Your friend, always, Jackson. And Carlton puts the paper down.
I can take up writing. He doesn't know.
I was about to say the same goddamn thing, you know? This motherfucker sent us a challenge beyond the grave.
Can't write like Jackson, though.
No.
No.
Maybe not.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
If there are any of you who do not agree to the terms of the will, you are allowed to speak up if you would like to back out of the circumstances you have been placed into. I am instructed to offer you, as Jackson would say, your last chance out of this mess.
He's
Mason
been in it
looks-
from the moment we met him.
Mason looks left. Mason looks right.
Kit actually looks a little hesitant, but once Mason looks at him, he'll make up his mind and be like, no, I'm in it.
Seeing as nobody disagrees, we're fucking in. We're in.
Very well. I will begin the necessary procedures for beginning the purpose of this fund. As it was said, Jackson left some papers here, though I had a phone call with Jonah, and he informed me that he already gave you most of what Jackson left behind. So that should be Miss Cordova, I know that you are quite wealthy yourself, and Jackson has made note of your wealth and insists upon the point of this fund taking precedence over your own financials. He simply couldn't resist being chivalrous to you one last time. That said, the total value of this fund and his assets as a whole comes to a little over $50,000, and he like flips through his page and goes, the bulk of this fund was formed by what he brought back from Peru and additional financials made over the years in lieu.
Mason choked on his fucking water. Holy shit.
That checks out.
Yeah, that checks out.
Definitely checks out. Fuck.
Okay, well, thank you.
Of course. Can I interest any of you in some more bourbon?
Absolutely, yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Happily pours everybody a glass again.
That's some bourbon.
To Jackson, I guess.
To Jackson.
To Jackson.
To Jackson.
Jackson.
Wherever he may be.
Probably punching some god by now.
Probably in his own fucking domain, knowing him.
Okay, well, is there anything else?
I believe that should do it, unless any of you had any other things you wish to say or add.
No, don't. Thank you for your help.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, my internet borked for a second. Well, I stuttered for a moment there. Can you repeat what you just said, Kristen?
I'm trying to say thank you.
It's cutting out. Oh no, please don't tell me this is me. It is me. Hold on.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you for
Okay, it's back. Yeah, my internet did the thingy again, but I'm glad I actually caught it this time. Actually, I'm going to use...
Now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm going to use this moment actually to refresh Roll20 because it was being funky. Sorry about that, everybody. We had a little network issue, but we should be back and stable now. Yeah. After the will reading, I almost went a little Princess Bride there. After the will reading, Will Wheaton, yes. Marriage. Anyway, so after the proceedings at Carlton Ramsey's office, which Sybil, you thank him, share a moment, maybe reminisce a little, and then back out on the streets.
Okay.
It's Monday afternoon. What do you want to do?
Kid's been checking his watch pretty often towards the end of the will reading, and just I need to go down to the train station, so I will signal if you don't mind.
Yes, may I go with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's go catch Aaron.
All right. Yeah. Aaron.
Does this mean we get to meet your sister?
Yes. You get to meet my sister. I'm sure you two, Sybil, you two will get along like a house on fire.
Ooh. Oh. Ooh.
That's a good thing.
Lightly
That meant to be a good thing or a bad
lightly
thing?
triggers Sybil.
It's a good thing. It's a good turn of phrase.
Sudden flashback
Sybil,
to...
I need you to understand, Sybil, had this big smile on her face, had this brief moment of, blue screen, all right, this is a trigger for me, flashed through a bunch of shit she worked through with James over the past 4 years, and then went, hooray! Let's go!
God.
You're gonna meet Aaron Sullivan.
Oh my god. All right.
Yep.
Well, I guess the entire group's coming along. So then, yeah, I mean,
They sure are.
we're gonna find our way to the to Grand Central Station, where all the trains seem to come into station here, baby. And this one a little delayed by a few days. I mean, Atwis, I'll let you set the scene of what's like. I mean, there's the smoke from the trains, there's the steam, there's the on the platform, people moving around here. I'll let you set this up.
Okay. So it's a little crowded. Everyone coming off this train looks to be very, very, very thankful that they're finally setting foot on, solid ground for, what should have been it only should have taken a day at the very most. I mean, Boston's not that far, but here we are a few days later. So as the throng of people disembarks the train and, people get their luggage, they go back and forth. Kit would see her first, but disembarking from one of the cars is someone who to everyone else would look really familiar. I mean, you knew that Aaron and Kit were twins, but they really do look a lot alike. Similar nose, similar facial features, same color hair, same, very pale green eyes. And Aaron disembarks, luggage in hand. She sort of scans the crowd a little bit. She and Kit see each other first, and she just lights up, and she makes her way over to everyone. Keep her note. I will preface this. The keeper needs to say this to everyone in the audience. I made it a requirement that Atwis needs to play both. So take it away, my dude. Oh my god, it's so good to finally see you. Jesus Christ, Kit, you have no idea. It's been so long on the train. And at this point, Aaron has just gotten Kit into a bear hug, and they're like the exact same fucking height too. So it's so obvious that they're related. And for everyone who has seen Kit's father, Ryan Sullivan, yeah, they're very much a family. And Erin is she's ecstatic. She hugs Kit, and Kit just sort of like, yeah, it's really good to see you too. Erin sort of like holds him back by the shoulders, looks down, and sees Sunil, and just goes straight to Sunil. Oh my god, Sunil, congratulations! I'm so happy.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Congratulations for what?
She hugs him and lifts him up a little bit and sets him back down.
Okay, Erin. Thank you. Let me down.
Get down.
I'm down. Yes, no, my raise, right. I did tell you about that. I've been...
Yes, absolutely. No, you have really been, you've deserved that raise for a long time now, and I'm really glad that your work's finally getting, acknowledged, Sunil. Yeah. You deserve it. You're doing great work, and, it's great to see you again. It's been far too long.
It's great to see you again, Erin.
And Aaron's eyes slide to everyone else. And Kit interrupts here. These are, I've told you about them all. These are my friends. And Kit will introduce everyone down the line. This is Mason Allen, James O'Connell, and Sybil Cordova.
Hello! You're like my aunt, but not, because Kit's like my dad, but not. And then she just immediately runs over and gives Aaron a hug. Just like, yeah.
Aaron just taking it in stride, like, hugs Sybil, also picks her up a little, sets her back down. I have heard so many things about you, Sybil Cordova. You would not believe, and trust me, do I have a lot of things to tell you, because, I mean, listen, if first
it's only
off,
fair.
You think of him? You think of him as your dad?
He's my dad.
God.
James
Aaron looks at
just
Kit.
got like his hand in his face, like fucking Just,
Sunil is like snickering and looking down, like he's snickering and looking like slightly in the other direction.
Kit just sort of shrugs and says, I mean, I did walk it down the aisle. And Erin just sort of nods, smile going across her face. Well, welcome, new honorary member of the Sullivan family. It's so nice to meet you. I love you already. And as for the rest of you, she sort of stops and looks at Mason. You look really familiar. No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. And she just sort of like peers at him. Oh my god! I've seen you in the pictures, haven't I? No, Kit mentioned that he had a friend who was in the pictures and it was an actor. That's you, right?
Yes. The group here, looking at Mason, you can't tell if Mason is nervous or in love or both. But the look on his face right now, unreadable because it is very confusing. You can't tell what he's thinking right now, but I, the player, will say, you know, like.
Oh my god.
And
wow,
Mason's like, yes. Hi, I'm Mason. Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about
nice
you.
to meet you too. Really? Well, I sure hope it was all good things. She looks over to Kit. Kit just sort of like, yes, Erin, it was all good things, I promise. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, Mr. O'Connell, it is also a pleasure. I've heard great things about you as well.
Unexpected, but thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. And she will shake his hand, and she looks over to Kit, and then she looks back to the rest of the investigators, and she looks over to Kit, and everyone sees her face drop just a little bit, like the cheery expression on her face sort of drops. Well, I didn't expect such a warm and large welcome, that's for sure. She looks Kit directly in the eyes. Kit sort of, I mean, I wired you. I let you know we sort of had a thing with Jackson. I told you about Jackson. Yeah, you told me about Jackson. Yeah, well, we were all in the neighborhood, so we figured we would, you know. Erin just sort of nods and, you know, just sort of, all right, you know, I'm gonna be level with all of you because it's only fair that I do so. But Kit, as much as he would love to avoid doing so, talks to me about certain things. And it's lovely to meet you all. It's great to see you all. It's so wonderful to finally be able to put, you know, faces and voices to the names that I've heard about. But I can't say that seeing all 5 of you in the same place strikes me with any sort of confidence.
Sunil, this entire time, like the moment that she started surveying people, he's been looking at the ground like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Mason's face is red, just looking at the ground.
There was a very audible laugh from James at that one.
Please, someone tell me I'm wrong. Please, just someone tell me I'm
James
not wrong,
James opens up first, just a very, like, he does her the respect of like looking her in the eyes and like the smirk dropping for a minute and just, I'm sorry.
Oh. Well,
On the bright side, it's nothing to do with you, and if anything, you being here is gonna help Kid a lot.
yeah. You didn't tell any of your friends about your plans, huh? Kit just looks at Aaron and sort of just...
Everybody looks at Kit.
Yeah, we all just turn to like, plant?
Sunil is looking away from Kit, actually.
It's been... Listen, Aaron, there's been a lot happening. I never intended for there to be any sort of thing going on here. I was gonna tell them, but you have to... No, because first off, you were already coming through New York because you were coming through New York so that I could meet you, we could meet up with Dad, and then you could go up to Boston so you could see, you know, a mother for the first time in a few years.
Miss Sullivan, if I may interject.
Aaron slowly turns to James, and James, you get hit with the same fucking icy stare that you've seen from Kit Sullivan. And
Yeah.
But she softens a little bit, and yes, Mr. O'Connell?
It wasn't his intention for us all to be in the same place.
Yeah,
It was our friends who is unfortunately in the situation that you find yourself walking into very recently deceased.
That would be, Mr. Elias, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry to hear about all that.
Don't
and
worry about it. It's got nothing to do with you. You're just here to see your family. We understand.
And I presume that, you know, I'm here to see my family, and my family will stay here and leave me to go back up to Boston alone. Isn't that right? And Kit just... He doesn't say anything, but, like, the guilt on his face is palpable, and he just sort of...
James
Aaron.
is looking at Kit now.
Aaron, it's not something that anyone could have predicted, and I'm sorry, but we saw him. We were the ones that found him. We've got a responsibility. Responsibility? Kit, you're really talking to me about responsibility. Aaron, please. No. You don't get to say anything. Kit, you stop. Just stop, all right? Kit just sort of raises his hands and sort of leaves off. All right, I know that I understand you all have been through a lot, and Kit's been wiring me, you know, back and forth onto the train, you know, every day. So I get it. I've been kept abreast, but I really wish that I would have met all of you under different circumstances. For one, you'll have to forgive me. I'm a little bit upset that this is happening again.
It is perfectly understandable. We wish the same thing, I assure you.
Sunil?
Sunil, like, I don't know how to word this, so let's just pretend like he worded it in a way that made sense to Aaron, because how they would speak to each other. I'm not going to make any excuses. Not for Kit, not for myself, not for any of us being here. Clearly, we don't really have any. But I know, and I'm sorry, would be pretty idle at this point now, wouldn't it? You have every right to be angry, upset, bothered. You haven't seen your sibling, your brother, in God knows how long. And it feels as though things just keep conveniently getting in the way. Is that correct? Exceptionally conveniently, actually, now that you mention. I will say, I cannot speak for every other case. I absolutely cannot, and I will not try to speak for every other case. But this time, and something peeks in his head because he's Sunil, and it's just like how things go. He goes, I don't think we can fully, quote unquote, make it up to you. It's just nebulous, it's in the air. But I do think that we still have time to at least honor some of the promises you were given for this trip. You deserve something. Clearly.
You're damn right I do. And Kit at this moment sort of he sort of, approaches and says, I mean, we were planning on maybe going back to Boston anyway, partially to ask around with the whole Jackson thing, but also, I mean, Aaron, I'm sorry. I really have missed you, and I really have missed Mom. And Aaron cuts him off and just, just save it, Kit. We'll once it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't happen, well, then it doesn't happen. And she turns to look at everyone else. I'm so sorry to drag you all into this. It's definitely not I wasn't expecting it, so my apologies for being so rude, and I apologize on behalf of Kit as well, because obviously he didn't inform you of anything, and why should I expect anything different? So, I heard you guys were staying at the plaza. Is that right?
We are staying at the plaza at this time.
Great. Well, plaza isn't really my cup of tea, but if you need me, Kit, I'm gonna be staying with Dad, back at home in Hell's Kitchen, so you'll know where to find me, and, I'd love to meet with you all. I'd love to spend more time with you all and everything like that, but I really, really sincerely appreciate that you all came to, meet me at the station. That means a lot. And I know this is my first time meeting you, Sybil, you, Mason, and you, James. And it really has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. But, and Aaron sort of like looks off and looks back and just...
You don't have to... Okay.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
You don't have to pretend. It's okay. We're sorry.
No. You have nothing to apologize for. I just wish that I had a little more warning, a little more something, a little more anything. And Aaron sort of like looks to Kit, they lock eyes, and like something passes between the two of them, and they step a little away from everyone else. Just sort of like this conversation is between them now, but you all can still very clearly hear it, and just Kit is just like, Aaron, it wasn't something that I could tell you over a wire. I'm really sorry. And Kit, I know that you're sorry, and I know that you mean it, but it doesn't change the fact that this is something that has happened over and over and over and over again back in fucking New Mexico. What was it? I'm gonna come straight back to Boston. I came back from Peru. I'm coming back to Boston. I'm gonna see you home. And then you stop in Chicago, and then you stop in New York, and then you fuck right off to Berlin. I mean, come on, what am I supposed to think? And Kit just, Aaron, I know, I'm sorry, but please, no, I understand. don't think that I don't understand, Kit, because trust me, I absolutely understand. That doesn't change the fact that you're a real fucking asshole sometimes, you know? The Kit just nods. He doesn't argue. He doesn't fucking argue. Yeah. You really are. You know, I get it. I get it. I get it. You've got your thing. You gotta go. And I understand that, but for God's sake, Kit, I mean, look at them. And she sort of like looks over both their shoulders, and Kit like sort of looks back, and they look at you all, and then they go back to their conversation. Kit, for God's sake, if you're not gonna talk to me, at least talk to one of them. Talk to James, a Mason, a Sybil. For God's sake, at least talk to Sunil. I mean, Jesus, And Kit just sort of, he doesn't say anything, but he draws her into a hug, and she accepts it. She doesn't fight it, and he just, I know, Aaron. I'll do my best to come up and see Ma, and I'll keep you informed. I'll write to you. I'll wire if writing is impossible, and yeah. Okay, fine. I'll keep you to it. Yeah, please. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Thanks for coming to get me. It's nice to see you again. I've missed you, you know. Yeah, I've missed you too. All right. Well, I'll let you get back to your friends, and I'll go see Dad, and we'll probably have lunch. And if you're back at the plaza around dinner time, you know, I would love to spend some more time with you all under different circumstances. All right? Yeah. Thanks. All right. Well, yeah. And she'll hug him back, and she'll come back to the rest of the group, and she absolutely fucking knows, by the way, that you all overheard every single thing that she said. She's under no illusion. In fact, like, you kind of get the impression that she specifically said those things out loud in a way that you all were aware of them. But she comes back to everyone. First off, she gives Sunil a hug, then holds him by the shoulders and said, "It is very nice to see you again, and you know, congratulations on that raise. You deserve it."
Thank you, Aaron.
Mm-hmm. And she goes to James and shakes his hand. "It is a pleasure to meet you finally. I heard all sorts of things about your wedding. Congratulations to the both of you. I know it's a little late, but yeah."
We appreciate it.
Don't you worry about it. You have a good day.
Yeah, of course. And she goes to Mason, and she shakes his hand and says, "And you, and she sort of like taps his chin a little bit. It was Paramount, wasn't it?"
Yeah, Paramount.
Well, you know, never thought that I would meet or, you know, perhaps be friends with an actor, so nice to finally meet you. I've heard a lot of things about you. All good.
And
all
he
good.
gives a light smile, but it's obvious to everyone that he's kind of upset about what he's been listening to and everything, but he trying to be polite.
And then finally she goes over to Sybil and just, "Well, I am, first off, a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Cordova, and I mean, I've always kind of wanted a little sister, so..."
Sybil just gives her like the biggest, like,
yes,
the biggest hug. Like, it's like
her, like,
an
picks her up and
incredibly
spins her around and sets her back down.
hug. Like, Sybil gives her, like, the kind of hug that just implies, I have already adopted you, and as my adopted, like, family member, I will give you the biggest, most comforting hug.
It is so nice to see you, and oh my god, Sybil, you know, eventually, you're gonna have to come up to Boston eventually. Pretty sure that our mother's already adopted you as well. She doesn't know it yet, but she absolutely has, so...
I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
While they're having that little exchange, I just want to state that James, like after Aaron has like moved on from him, James goes right over to Kit, just arm around the shoulder.
Yeah, Mason also moves in on Kit.
Oof.
Doesn't say a word. Doesn't say a word. Lets it hang. Just gives him the support.
Once Erin has finished, you know, saying her goodbyes and everything like that, she'll take her bags and she'll go and she'll head off. She's staying at the Sullivan family residence, which is in Hell's Kitchen, and if you all would be so inclined, she would be happy to join you for dinner whatever other time at the plaza. And as Erin leaves, Kit, who has been, you know, approached by Mason and James, just sort of, he kind of shrugs off their, you know, their contact, their physical contact. He like doesn't really want to be touched, and just that's my Spitfire of a sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, oddly enough, she reminds me a lot of you.
Really? Funny you should say that.
James is gonna take his flask out from his jacket and offer it over to him.
Kit like takes an askance look around the station, and you know, assuming nobody's looking too hard, will take a brief swig and hand it back. Thanks.
Seemed like you need it.
You know, she's not wrong.
She is a little bit.
No.
That wasn't fair to you at all.
No.
Well,
You see Sunil make a face, and it's like you say she's not wrong, and no. You say she's not wrong, and Sunil looks at Kit. You say, well, she's kind of wrong, and Sunil makes kind of a face, and it's just like it's one of those things where, like, it's detectable, but it's not on purpose. So
when Mason says it wasn't fair, James, like that interjection that pulls through, because James, it's completely fair. It's absolutely fair.
She is completely correct, and it was fair. I mean, and you know, Kit's been drinking like this entire afternoon between the will reading and between the swig from the flask and everything. So he's probably a little looser than he would normally be, and he just sort of, I mean, shit. You know how long it took me to come back from France. It took me an entire year to come back from France and England, and even then, I only stayed in Boston for like a few months. Then I fucked right off. No, she's absolutely correct. I am an asshole.
Kid, it's not your fault that our friend got murdered and cops won't do a goddamn thing about it.
No, it's not.
It's not
about that.
It's
James
not
is
about
right.
that.
I would argue personally, but maybe it's because I have a bit of a similar lifestyle. I wouldn't say that makes you an asshole. At least you do come by.
No.
More than most.
It totally makes me an asshole, especially because I after the whole New Mexico thing, I didn't go back and it finally, like, it looks like Kit's inhibitions have finally caught up to the rest of him and just shut him down. Let's
Yeah. That's
yeah.
You James gives, like, he knows by this point, not really willing for physical contact, but still at least gives him like a pat on the back of the shoulder, on the shoulder blade, right?
Yeah.
Just, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Are they about to begin walking out of the station?
You have enough time to like interject.
No. This is about them walking out of the station. As they are about to walk out of the station, Sunil is walking next to Kit and sort of like does the implication of, hey, slow down a little bit. Let's walk together near the back.
Yeah. Kit will slow down, sort of, tilts his head a little.
Yeah. Sunil, aware that Kit doesn't exactly super want to be touched right now, still like takes his hand, squeezes it, and lets it go. And he just looks at him and he nods his head a bit as though to like, he's not going to ask, even in these gestures, are you okay? Because that would be a pointless question. But he does fully intend to be walking next to Kit, a little bit separate from the group, because I think in Sunil's brain, he thinks Kit needs a little space, but not like too much space.
If I may interject, I just wanna combo this real quick by saying that since James was like dragging Kit with him when they were first heading out the station, once he saw Sunil drag him to the back, he was going to go ahead and just like Sybil, Mason, either side, dragging them forwards.
And Sunil like gives you this like slight nod of understanding, like, thank you.
Doing like
Mason-
a concerned but worried expression, like completely failing to hide it. Like
just as they go forward, James like very quietly, you can do it later. Just give him a minute.
Yeah, Mason pulls his arm away. It's like, I can read a room, James. Thank you. And continues to walk ahead.
And Kit squeezed Sunil's hand back once he took it, but is more than happy to walk a little behind. And yeah.
Are they gonna like be slower in the actual station? Like by the time that everybody else is forward, are they gonna be like taking a minute in the station?
I'm gonna leave that up to Kit because Sunil is to an extent leaving the pacing. Like he intentionally slowed down to put their like steps in motion as like a sort of rhythmic kind of thing. But if Kit were to imply at all that he wanted to go even slower, he would.
It'll be for like a split second. Like as the rest are leaving, Kit will, pause for a very split second and look back to Sunil and just thanks.
I'm always here for that.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Wish it would have been better. Would have went better.
It sometimes it goes as it goes, but she's here now, and there's still time.
Yeah. She's not wrong, but I mean, she's not wrong. which means she's right. So she'll hold it over my head for the rest of our days. But she'll come around and it'll be easy and when we see her again.
Yeah. And
She
we'll
just-
we'll see you soon.
yeah, she just needed to get it off her chest, and I get that. Well, we should. Kit like sort of awkwardly looks, you know. We should. Yeah, we should.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Head up and catch up with them.
Mhm.
Still a little bit behind, but
Yeah.
within the same group.
I'll say you'll probably catch like tail end. The reason I asked was both to give you both like a minute to do something,
Yeah.
and also for James to apologize to Mason for acting for him.
For what?
For acting for him, because like I just texted you, James has enough respect for Mason to actually like go out of his way to apologize for something like that rather than let it slip, let it sit between them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mason accepts.
Yeah.
He's a little frustrated overall from the situation, mainly because he also had some things that he wanted to say to her, but could not.
Of course.
Which, yeah, so that's what Kit and Sunil catch the tail end of as they reconvene with the rest of you.
Sunil, like, just for an internal thing, Sunil realizes that Mason is upset, and he's like, this isn't the time for him to like talk about or address it necessarily, but he's pocketed it, and he's also pocketed the he's pocketed what he's noticed in the situation.
Hmm.
Because I feel like that's something he would clock, as in he's like, okay, this is the emotional state of everybody at this moment. Let's let it simmer and talk about it later.
What time is it right now?
I'd say it's pushing 3:30 by now.
Not that bad.
No.
Not that bad at all. We have the whole day. James is gonna kind of turn to everybody and just very simply, anyone feeling like lunch? Dinner?
I could do
Anything?
lunch.
It's technically in between. I don't know. I haven't eaten myself.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, lunch sounds good.
Could use a
Lunch
bit of
sounds
time to
good.
unwind.
Maybe tonight, do we want to check out Juju House?
I'm willing.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
I will say, if it's none of my business, but if you want to sit this one out, work some things out.
Kid sort of like shakes his head a little bit and like, do you really think I'm gonna let you all go into that, lion's den without me? Come on.
We can take care of ourselves.
I know you can, but and he looks to everyone in turn. I just worry.
We worry
get it.
too.
It'll be fine. Kit sort of like waves a dismissive hand. It'll be fine, and I'll be fine. All right.
All right. Well, we have all of our time at the restaurant.
Lunch first.
Lunch
Lunch
first.
first.
and the 5 of you
There you go.
go on off to eat some late lunch, early dinner, one might say, before figuring out what steps to take next. And that will be all for this week's episode of Call of Cthulhu, Masks of Nyarlathotep. As always, I'm your keeper, Xander. We'll see you here again, same time, same place, next week. Until then, Cthulhu Fatagan.